There's an entire generation of people who remember both rotary phones and the launch of the first iPhone, and psychologists still can't quite figure out where to put them. If you were born between 1976 and 1985, you're on the tail end of Generation X, but you're hardly a millennial, even though everyone keeps trying to shove you into one of those boxes. Around 2014, researchers started calling this group Xennials. Some sociologists even call it a microgeneration because the window is so specific. And what happened during that slice of history created experiences that are genuinely worth examining from a psychological perspective. From the start, your childhood was entirely analog. Boredom was just something you sat with. You had to remember phone numbers. Missing your favorite TV show meant it was gone forever. No replays, no on-demand. Then suddenly, as you moved into adulthood, the world went digital. Not gradually, not step by step. Suddenly, everything changed. Friendster, MySpace, Facebook. Overnight, communication and social interaction transformed. You learned to adapt, even without being explicitly taught. You had to figure out how to live in both worlds, a world without digital distractions and a world completely reliant on them. During those formative years, you experienced both extremes at a critical time in your development. Neuroscience tells us that the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for adaptability, decision-making, and complex learning, continues to develop well into your mid-20s. That meant when technology changed everything, you were in a high-plasticity window. You were young enough that learning new digital tools felt natural, but old enough to remember life before them. Unlike older generations who might approach technology with skepticism or younger ones who never knew life without the internet, you learned to navigate both worlds seamlessly. You can have deep, face-to-face conversations without checking your phone every few minutes, but you also don't feel intimidated by new software or platforms. You're comfortable straddling two realities, and that's a rare kind of adaptability. Your memories, too, were shaped by a pre-digital world. Embarrassing moments, breakups, awkward parties, or that disastrous 7th grade haircut weren't captured on social media for the world to see forever. They faded naturally, stored in stories rather than permanent evidence. That creates a fundamentally different relationship with the past. Your memories could evolve over time, morphing into narratives that change shape as they're retold. You weren't trapped by documentation. Neuroscientific research on autobiographical memory shows that human brains are naturally designed to keep what matters and let the rest fade. Social media changes that process. Younger generations live in a world where every moment is searchable and permanent, which alters the way memory functions. You experience both, giving you a perspective on privacy, impermanence, and the natural ebb of human recollection. Life for Xennials wasn't only about technology. You entered the job market around the time of the 2008 financial crisis, facing economic instability just as you were supposed to be establishing your careers. Research on financial trauma shows that hardship during formative years can have lasting psychological effects. Many Xennials carry memories of lost jobs, sudden layoffs, and financial uncertainty, experiences that shape attitudes toward money, security, and risk long after the immediate threat passes. You became accustomed to adapting quickly, balancing optimism with caution, learning to navigate an uncertain world while still trying to build stability. Your generation is defined by paradox. You inherited the self-reliance and independence of Generation X. Your parents probably didn't know where you were for hours at a time, and that was normal. You learned to entertain yourself, solve problems independently, and endure boredom without immediate adult intervention. Yet, at the same time, you stepped into adulthood during the early days of the internet, when technology promised to connect everyone, solve problems, and open doors in ways previous generations could only imagine. That dual exposure shaped you into someone both skeptical and optimistic, independent yet cooperative, grounded in reality but adaptable to rapid change. The contrast between your analog childhood and digital adulthood also shaped how you perceive time, attention, and relationships. You remember waiting patiently, showing up on time, and hoping your friends would be there. Communication required trust and commitment. Today, instant messaging, notifications, and social media have compressed attention spans and altered expectations. Xennials experience both the patience of the past and the immediacy of the present, which gives you a unique perspective on relationships, work, and life in general. Perhaps the most defining feature of being a Xennial is your ability to hold contradictions without discomfort. You remember the world before the internet and the world after. You know what was gained and what was lost. True solitude, patience, and unstructured time, those are gone. Connection, access to information, and endless possibilities, those are yours now. You don't just feel nostalgic for the past in the way Generation X might. You genuinely appreciate modern conveniences while recognizing the costs. You are simultaneously analog and digital, cautious yet adventurous, independent but socially aware. That's not a flaw. It's a superpower. Living through one of the biggest cultural and technological transitions in recent history has given Xennials something invaluable: perspective. You can adapt to change without losing your identity. You know that the world is unpredictable, but you've learned to navigate uncertainty with grace. You've seen firsthand how technology can simplify lives and complicate them. You've learned that financial stability isn't guaranteed and that resilience is cultivated through experience. And perhaps most importantly, you've lived through a moment in history that taught lessons most generations won't encounter in quite the same way. This isn't about being superior. It's about understanding a unique set of circumstances that produced a generation capable of balancing the best and worst of two worlds. It's about appreciating the rare combination of skills, experiences, and perspectives that Xennials possess, navigating complexity while holding on to the ability to reflect, adapt, and remain grounded. Your generation reminds us that identity is never simple, that history shapes us in subtle and profound ways, and that adaptability is more important than ever in a rapidly changing world. Being a Xennial is living in the paradox of continuity and change. It's remembering the past while thriving in the present. It's holding space for patience and immediacy, privacy and connection, skepticism and hope. You've learned to negotiate contradictions gracefully, and that's what sets you apart. In a world that changes faster than anyone can predict, having lived through such a transformative period may be one of the most valuable things you've learned. You've adapted to a transitional lifestyle, a world that doesn't remain fixed, and you've emerged not only intact but capable of thriving. The Xennial experience is unique because it reminds us all how much history, timing, and adaptability matter in shaping human psychology and life.